legacy and his mission, which sadly is still yet to be realized. I am grateful to see all of your wonderful faces assembled within these hallowed walls on a day that is traditionally filled with joy, optimism, hope, community, and servitude. And let me be absolutely irrevocably clear, we are going to have joy today. Now, I must share with everyone a confession that might shock you. That confession is that I love this city's mayor, especially today on more than any other day. I love this idiot because less than a week ago, this man foolishly stated that he could not support the proclamation read today honoring King and this event because the word equality was replaced with equity and that the word nonviolence was missing. I want you to hold on to that statement for the remainder of this speech, because due to such a statement being made, this should far and away be the easiest speech I've ever done in my life. To paraphrase Inigo Montoya from one of my favorite movies, The Princess Bride, Mr. Mayor, I don't think that word means what you think it means. Put down Project 2025 long enough to pick up a dictionary. if those aren't banned here yet. He could have learned that the word equity is a noun whose definition is the quality of being fair and just, especially in a way that takes account of and seeks to address existing inequalities. So by definition alone, your mayor has a problem with being fair and just. He has a problem with being held accountable, and that probably explains the recalls. He has a problem with seeking to address existing inequalities. Had his search for a dictionary failed and he simply picked up a thesaurus, he would have learned that equitability is but one of many synonyms for the word equality. He apparently is more concerned with reminding you not to make racists uncomfortable or to hurt their feelings. He's more focused on fake pearl clutching and feigning worry over a proclamation saying the word nonviolence than he is on not supporting politicians and policies that are violence. Furthermore, any person, I'm gonna ask you to hold your applause because they asked me to limit time. We're already behind and I'm gonna run through this. We got an hour breakthrough afterwards because it's a lot, I promise. Furthermore, any person who deems the view of a conservative group like the Pacific Legal Foundation as a qualified point of reference to judge what a black man's dream for equality, diversity, equity, and inclusion are is a person who doesn't know anything about black people and cannot be taken seriously with anything related to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. One could easily argue that this city's 0.6 black population is evidence of that inability to understand due to the lack of representation. Historically speaking, cities that have that low of a percentage of people have it by design. Remember, this used to be a sundown town. For those of you that don't know what that is, look it up, please. I moved here about a decade ago from Phoenix, and when I moved here, I did what most black people do. You ask other black people about the city, about the town. You ask for safe spaces, cultural spaces where you can go to where you know you'll feel welcome. You also, most importantly, ask where not to go. Would you like to guess where the #1 city was that literally every black person told me not to go to? Prescott. Oh. So why am I here today? Why would I come to a city whose history makes me feel as welcome as my parents were welcome at lunch counters during their childhood? Why would I, in the minds of some, waste my time to speak to a city unwilling to listen? I am here because of you. I'm here.
We love you!
I am here because my brothers and sisters have been fighting the good fight, and I'm here to help you get the story right. It would dishonor King's legacy to stand before you this afternoon around the same time that an insurrectionist leading 34-time convicted felon has been sworn into the highest office in our land and not speak to the times we now find ourselves in together. While politicians like your mayor continue to disrespect King's legacy by misquoting speeches they likely never read and foolishly choosing to lecture citizens on topics that their policies and votes don't match, I came to help Prescott get the story right. One of my biggest problems with many MLK celebrations, and the reason why you've never seen me march, is the fact that most feel just like ceremonies. Across the nation, many citizens are participating in today's event, treating these marches as victory laps, convinced that one black president and one black vice president in our nation's history is an indicator of justice realized. Hey guys, we made it! Take a selfie! Say dream! Too many of us have been acting as if we crossed the finish line in a marathon we've never taken a step in. I did not come here to offer what Mayor Good dismissively and insincerely calls inspirational oratory. I came here to work. But first, a bit about myself. My name is Christopher, and I'm originally from Saginaw, Michigan. As a youth, I grew up in a diverse community and school systems where I was able to learn and live beside other cultures who taught me the importance of standing up for your neighbor while being proud of your own heritage. It was never one or the other. I never had to sacrifice my voice for the comfort of others. As a youth, I often studied and recited King's speeches. As a high school junior, I even recall reciting King's I Have a Dream speech from memory with a 104-degree temperature. Since then, I've been involved in community work and community activism in Michigan, Memphis, Louisville, Phoenix, and beyond. For over 20 years, I've also been publicly known as spoken word artist, truth be told. Poetry has helped me find my voice, and it has helped many, countless others to do the same. My background in community work and activism helped shape my work and my voice, making it a priority for me to use my art to initiate difficult conversations many actively avoid. It even provided me opportunities from national commercials to WNBA games to speaking at the Poor People's Campaign last summer in DC. Through performance spoken word, I even earned a scholarship to graduate school, where later this year I'll earn my MA in creative writing. I'm not here for you for the applause. I say this because I chose to get my MA in creative writing with a concentration in fiction. I chose to concentrate on fiction to challenge myself, but mainly due to the irony of how many truths fiction writing allows us to share with the reader. As a writer, I am accustomed to storytelling from various angles. The two most common types of storytelling are those that come from a third-person narrative and the lesser-used first-person narrative. The first-person narrative is lesser used for a multitude of reasons, but for most writers, it is limited. It doesn't allow you to fully see the whole picture, as opposed to the omnipresent aspect of a third-person narrative. We are where we are today because of white supremacy. And you must understand that white supremacy is a first-person narrative that convinces itself it is the third-person, omnipresent narrative, or what writers like to call the God narrative. Not only that, it determines who the main character of the story is and how they are portrayed. Remember the children's story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Ain't no way in hell, forgive me, Lord, Goldilocks was ever a hero. Yet as children, we are told a story where this colonizer invades someone else's home, eats their food, sleeps in their beds, then has the audacity to be upset at the natives who come home upset about the invasion. Be honest with yourselves. If I told you that same story but made the main character a refugee from El Salvador instead of a blonde-haired white girl, would that character ever be given the same grace as Goldilocks? If you read that story and consider Goldilocks the hero, you are telling yourself stories. If you see a committee of 17 white people in 2025 and tell yourself that panel was built on a meritocracy, you are telling yourself stories. If you think 97% of all Supreme Court justices historically being white men is because of a meritocracy, you are telling yourselves stories. Such fallacies could only be born from the imagination of a person who lacks the ability to imagine a world without whiteness as society's main character and primary wielder of power. Now, I'm using the term telling stories as a way to honor and remind me of my grandparents. As a youth, we weren't able to call a lie. We had to say telling stories. So in remembrance of my elders, I say to you all today, the stories white America continues to tell itself are killing the rest of us. For many, that is the goal. White supremacy not only requires whiteness to remain the main character in America's story, it convinces people that whiteness is the standard to which we all must aspire to and protect. It is constructed to make whiteness the unquestioned default and everyone else the secondary character. It creates a color blindness. And I don't mean that in the well-intentioned way many of my white brothers and sisters say I don't see color. I mean it in a more insidious, ingrained way of thinking that normalizes whites and only whites as an authoritative figure or standard from a societal standpoint. It's the reason why President Barack Obama, Vice President Kamala Harris, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, and a litany of other overqualified black individuals and people of color have their qualifications questioned. Yet nobody bats an eye when an unqualified felon is elected president. Because white supremacist thinking never questions the qualifications of white men, talent or ability be damned. It allows whites to be qualified on sight, whereas blacks and other minorities have to jump through hurdles while being questioned daily by other unqualified individuals on our abilities and whether or not we deserve to be in the spaces we earn to be, like me behind this podium. White supremacy uses the false narrative of white superiority and the fake fear of being replaced, which is rich considering this nation's origins, to convince poor white people their skin color is a God-given right for them to rule over those they view as inferior, which is essentially everyone outside of white men. It convinces you that $9 eggs and no health care are fine as long as your skin makes you feel superior. There are millions, about 77 million minimum, willing to fight for and protect that just in case they can have a proximity to power. How else can you explain why 2 out of 3 people in this city would vote for somebody who claimed Haitians ate dogs and cats? How else could you claim you voted for somebody based on the economy and the man bankrupted 6 businesses? How else could you call yourself the law and order party and nominate a felon? Or why would a nation sell the ideal of protecting democracy, then hand the keys over to the person that tried to overthrow it? There is only one plausible and repeatedly proven reason throughout history to explain why so many white Americans would vote against their own best interests. It is the addiction to the ideal that the lowest white person still has more value than the best of any other person of any other race. That is white supremacy. And the level of addiction to it would make opioids look like Skittles. You don't have to earn anything when your skin gives you credence over everyone. It's why churches hang visually inaccurate portraits of Jesus that look more like Brad Pitt's cousin than they look like me.